The contracts question from July of 2006 is a complicated common law problem. Here's a hypothetical that requires us to do a great deal of work on contract formation. It also focuses on damages. Go with me to the call of the question. It reads, has Maria breached a contract with RC? And if so, how much, if anything, does Maria owe RC? Discuss. Well, it's a very simple call of the question, but it's a broad call as well. We've got to talk about the theory of liability, and we've got to talk about remedies, in particular, damages. And so, Maria, the subject of the call of the question, is the defendant. RC is the plaintiff. So intellectually, before we even read the fact pattern, we flash back to our basic approach to contracts. We'll talk about formation, defenses to formation, if there are any, breach, defenses to breach, again, if there are any, and then we'll get to remedies, assuming that the plaintiff has established a theory of liability. We don't have a great deal to go on based on the call, but we can still basically frame a fundamental approach to this answer before we even read the fact pattern. And once again, it's easy to notice that this is quite a long fact pattern. But this hypothetical holds true to my notion that the shorter fact patterns really are the harder ones. This problem is not tremendously difficult, but it is complicated enough that we've got to pay pretty close attention to the facts. And as we'll see, this is a question that is focusing our attention much more on contract formation than it is on remedies. Go with me to the top of the question, and we meet our plaintiff, RC, Resi Clean. They've advertised a cleaning service, and they offer a coupon. So, once again, we see right up front that we're going to be dealing with a fairly elaborate formation problem. In paragraph 2, we meet our defendant, Maria. She responds to the handbill. Now, is the handbill an offer or merely an invitation to deal? These aren't complicated issues. These are common to every first-year contracts class. So, she calls up RC. Maria speaks to a manager, and she says she wants housekeeping as per the handbill. She says she assumes the price will be $480 because of the $20 discount. The manager replies, that's right, we can clean your house on Friday. She says, great, just give me a call so I can make sure somebody will let you in. So, do we have a contract at this point? Probably the answer is yes, we do. Next, we get a deposit in the mail from RC, a confirmation of order. And as we look at it carefully, we see that not only did they get the purchase price wrong, but they've inserted a liquidated damages clause in the event of an untimely cancellation. And let's just pause for a moment to think about that. What the liquidated damages clause is saying is, in the event of a late cancellation, the homeowner is liable for the full price. Well, I don't think we need to be great scholars to have some idea that that's not reasonable. And we're going to judge all liquidated damages clauses based on whether or not they are reasonable and not punitive. Here, if the cleaning company ends up being forced not to do a job, one would think they would have a valid claim, but only for lost profits, not for the full purchase price. That looks like a windfall for the cleaning company, and we're not going to let them get away with it. In paragraph 4, we've got an email message sent while the order form is in the mail. And Maria explains in this email message how important it is for the job to be done well because the house is up for sale. Now, notice, this indication of the house being up for sale is made after the contract was formed. And this is going to those consequential damages issues, perhaps, about how the conditions of the contract have to be clear if the contract is formed. We're not going to hold people liable for developments that happen after the contract has been entered into. Next, the day before the cleaning is scheduled, Maria accepts an offer for the sale of this house, and she sends another email canceling the cleaning. At that time, the cleaning crew is on the way to her home. Then, later on the day the cleaning is scheduled, she gets the confirmation of order form in the mail. The crew shows up, she tells them to get lost. Then we are told that the lost profit of RC is $100, and they bill her for the full $500 She's not willing to pay a dime, and then we get the call of the question. Well, oftentimes, students ask me how they should allocate their time among issues, and my basic answer is, put your time where the facts are. The call of the question is asking us about damages, but all of the facts in the question really are going to contract formation. So that's where we're going to invest the bulk of our analytical effort. Turn the page with me and have a look at the outline of issues that I've written, and you'll see that I focus on contract formation, and I go through it in all of the detail. I talk about offer and acceptance, consideration. I have a separate little section on the confirmation of order form mailed by RC. I talk about Maria's email message, and then I reach a conclusion. And as you can guess, I'm concluding that a valid contract has been formed. The breach analysis is simple. Maria repudiates the agreement, it isn't very subtle, and there aren't a whole lot of facts. I give it a paragraph. Next, we go to Maria's defenses to breach. You'll notice I don't have a section on defenses to formation. I weave some of those issues into the body of the analysis, but Maria really hasn't got any defenses to the existence of the agreement. She does have a defense to breach based on frustration of purpose, but the cleaning company wasn't on notice as to the purpose of her cleaning order until after that contract had been formed. So I don't like her defense to breach, but I like it enough to talk about it because she does clearly have a colorable argument. So I make it. Then I conclude that she's liable for breach. Okay, great. Well, the second call of the question goes to damages, and we've basically got two options. The cleaning company has billed this defendant for the full purchase price, but we're also told that their lost profits are $100. And this analysis doesn't take a great deal of time. I conclude fairly quickly that Maria is going to be liable for the lost profits of RC, the $100. Now, turn with me for a moment to consider the model answer that I have written that goes along with this essay question. Take a look at page 1, and you'll see, as always, I lead with the facts, and I don't waste a lot of time merely reciting the facts. But I focus on the parties, and I focus on what the theory of liability is going to be. You'll notice under formation, the first thing I do is I explain what the law is, and I don't take a great deal of time. I do it in one somewhat long sentence. But then I get into the analysis of the facts, and offer and acceptance and consideration aren't complicated issues, but there are a fair number of facts that go to them, and I focus on each one of them separately and carefully. I judge the handbill to be an invitation to deal. I judge Maria's phone call to be an offer, and the manager's reply during that phone call to be a clear acceptance. So it looks as if there's been a bargain for exchange. Maria is going to pay $480, and she's going to get a clean house. Next, I consider the confirmation of order form that was sent by RC. Remember, this is a common law agreement, and so we're not going to allow the parties a lot of latitude in modifying their agreement. So we focus on the common law, and we indicate that this confirmation of order does not materially alter the agreement that these parties reached during their phone call. So the email message and the confirmation of order don't change the terms of the fundamental deal. Next, I turn to repudiation, and you'll see I spend 2 paragraphs on breach, and as you look at those paragraphs, you'll see that I am not neglecting the facts, and I'm also not neglecting the law. This is a fairly good example of my message to you about how you want to show the reader that you appreciate where the law and the facts touch one another. Next, I turn to frustration of purpose, and here I give Maria's defense a fair amount of play. I spend 2 fairly long paragraphs touching on what the law is and what the facts are. Ultimately, I conclude that Maria has breached a valid contract. Next, we turn to the damages issue. And you'll notice, here I'm not doing anything very complicated, but I am making sure that both parties get their day in court in my answer. We know what RC is looking for. They want the full purchase price of $500, and we know their lost profit was $100. So I analyze what happened, and I conclude that RC is going to be entitled only to their lost profit on the deal, $100. So this fact pattern gives us a chance to focus very carefully on the issues of contract formation in the common law context.